I like the music. It makes me feel good when I hear it.
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
I'm amazed that man could create anything so beautiful, and I remember that man creates nothing if God doesn't empower him to do so. Right?
Yeah.
So there, I thank God for George Gershwin and the
Yeah.
fact that I'm able to listen to it.
No, so what's the problem? So what's the problem?
No, I don't have a problem. My question is, what is my status, and what is the nature of the music, and what is that experience, and if I raise it, because
Here's something, if you're using time, and here's the thing that I think everybody should realize and look at. If you're not using your time to do godly things, you're using your time to do things that are for your self-purpose, you have to just accept that that's not what God wants you to do at that time. And it's okay. Get past it. Know that you're not perfect. The goal, though,
That's not the no, I don't agree with that. That's why is it okay that you're not perfect?
Why is it okay that you're not perfect?
Yeah.
Why is it okay that you're not perfect?
Yeah. Why is it okay that right now I'm not doing what I should?
So
It's not okay. Why is it okay? If I'm supposed to be doing something, I'm supposed to be doing it, not doing it. It's not okay if I get distracted. Doesn't mean you should beat yourself. Of course. What I'm trying to say is, not he and not me. No one over here is perfect. We're all sinners, and we're all into ourselves, and we're all. But what we're trying to accomplish over here is to understand that there is the way of the. What is the truth of reality? What is that? It's about Hashem. So it's like a puzzle, right? If you're in a puzzle, you're a piece of the puzzle. If you make up the beauty of this puzzle, then you're part of the puzzle, and it's great. You're a piece of the puzzle. But imagine you took yourself out of the puzzle, and you said, "I want to now be independent of the puzzle. I want to be my own thing." The whole puzzle is down. It looks terrible. There's a missing piece in the puzzle. But part of the time means I'm putting myself outside of the puzzle.
For a moment.
For a moment, exactly, yeah. So what?
So answer my question. How do I go to a rock concert of that?
And not feel bad about it? You feel bad when you go to a rock concert?
After what I'm learning here, I'm doing this for myself.
And you feel bad about it?
No, he's supposed to feel shame because he's not thinking about God.
I'm not doing this for godly purpose.
Right, yeah. How do you know you're not doing it for a godly purpose?
How do I make this a godly purpose?
I don't know. Tell me, why do you go there? Let's go through that for a minute.
Charge my body.
Perfect. That's godly. That alone is already godly.
Every pleasure I do,
If it's for the, what does it mean? Let's go one step further. You're charging your battery. What are you going to do with the battery once you charge it?
I'm going to be a better person.
Perfect.
So every pleasure I take, I just
If it's not a prohibited pleasure, and it's a permitted pleasure, and you're doing it for real, for truth, you're not fooling yourself. You're doing it because I think this will make me a better person to serve Hashem and make His world a better world as a result. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Okay. What did you think? I think throughout this Tanya class, I think I said that many times. If it was misunderstood, I'm sorry. I never said anything different.
I know that when I'm in the concert, I'm not thinking about God.
And when you're working, you're thinking about God?
No.
No. When are you thinking about God?
When, I don't know, sometimes normal.
How often? 3-4 times a day, let's say?
I think about that.
Okay. But see, I spoke about this as well. When you of course, when you're selling whatever you sell computers, you sell homes, you sell whatever you do for a living. Consultant. Imagine someone comes to you and he wants to consult with you, and you're thinking about God. You're not going to be able to give him any advice. You have to be totally involved in what you're doing. You can't be thinking two things at the same time. So if a person is selling or doing computer work or doing whatever, and he's thinking about God all the time, he's not going to be able to work. He's not going to be able to work. So you can't be consciously thinking about God all the time. But the question becomes, you can't be thinking about your wife either all the time, by the way.
I cannot think about it.
Right. You can't think about your wife all the time either. Even though one can argue, I'm working for my family. Would you say that's a general truth, that you're working for the betterment of your family? Do you think
But I'm also working for me.
you are part of your family? Why do you separate for yourself from that statement? I'm saying
You know that you have self-esteem and you have.
that's all perfect.
aspiration.
That's perfect.
That's for me.
But that's not for you. That's for you as part of this family. You're working for the family. The family should be a good unit, and it should be a healthy. And for me, for my family to be healthy, I need to have some time for myself to learn, to read, to explore, to do exercise. I can come home and be a much better father. I can be home and not fall asleep on my kids. So now the exercise is about my kids. It's not only about me. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't have to be only for me. What kind of a thing is that? Why does it have to be that way? It's a wrong attitude. I think that's where we're stuck on. Why do we have to have this feeling that it's only for me to the exclusion of my family? No, it doesn't have to be to the exclusion of my family. My family will only benefit if I do good exercise. I wish I got into a good regiment of exercise. I'm too lazy. I would be much healthier. I'd be much better in my house. I'd be much better with God. I promise you. If I did a good regiment of exercise, I'd be a better Jew. No question about it. When I would learn, my head would be perfect. I wouldn't be falling asleep. I'd be a much healthier Jew. For me to go do exercise is not about me. It's not only about me. It's about it's an all-encompassing act.
You answer my question. As long as I can make it not only for me.
That's the whole thing. You are Hashem wants you to have every pleasure under the sun. Just don't forget that you're under the sun that I created. It's my pleasure. Take it, enjoy it. I created it. Utilize it. Be involved. Take it. But it's my wedding. It's my house. Don't forget. Don't misplace things. This is my wedding. Don't forget about the bride. I'm the bride here. Dance, but dance for me. It should be around me, right? What? Okay, let's go. Let's finish the chapter today. Let's try to finish the chapter. So where are we? I think we're at the. We're on the. These are very important concepts. We're on the left column at the circle. As for innocent idle chatter, such as in the case of an ignoramus who cannot study, so he's allowed to talk about anything he wants, as long as it's not prohibited the words, right? Prohibited subjects. He must undergo a cleansing of his soul to rid it of the uncleanness of this klipa through it being. Oh, we did this last week. Let's. Oh. We're going to go on the right column in the right column. So too, he who is able to engage in the Torah. He has the capacity to learn Torah, but occupies himself instead with frivolous things. He goes to a rock concert.
I don't know if I read an article that goes to.
It's a different problem. They have their other pleasures that they like to engage in. Right, they like the other thing, yeah. But occupies himself instead with frivolous things. The hollow of a sling cannot itself effectively scour and cleanse his soul, but severe penalties are meted out for neglect of the Torah in particular. Apart from the general retribution for the neglect of a positive commandment through indolence, namely in the purgatory of snow, as is explained elsewhere. Likewise, he occupies himself with the science. Okay. So basically, the Alter Rebbe, and this is exactly where we stopped last week. There's two types of Gehenna: the Gehenna of snow and the Gehenna of fire. Gehenna is purgatory after we pass on. The purgatory of the fire is there to cleanse the stain on the soul that was caused by your passion for negative, by violating a negative commandment. Why did you violate the negative commandment? Because you were excited about doing this and this thing. You ate something that wasn't kosher because you were passionate, you wanted it very much, you were on fire for it, right? So the sin was a fire, so the way to cleanse it is through fire. Why did you neglect learning Torah or neglect doing a positive commandment? You didn't build a sukkah. You didn't eat do tefillin. You didn't eat matzah on Pesach. Why didn't you do that? Not because I'm fire. On the contrary, you're cold towards these things. You have a certain you have certain, disregard for these things. You're cold to it, right? Who cares about tefillin? Who cares about a sukkah? You're cold towards it. So the sin came as a result of you being cold, not hot. And therefore, the remedy for that is in the purgatory of snow. Whatever purgatory of snow means in the spiritual realm, it's obviously a spiritual concept. But now he goes into something very profound. And it's an interesting topic that Alter Rebbe is going to touch upon now, but it's fun. It's a very important one. Let's go into it. Likewise, we're by the 8. It's in the right column, right in the middle, the last word. You see it Likewise, he who occupies himself with the sciences of the nations of the world is included among those who waste their time in profane manners. Insofar as the sin of neglecting the Torah is concerned. Because you went there, you're learning the sciences, you could be learning Torah during that time, so you're really involved in the profanity. What do you need it for? You're wasting your time. Hold on. As is explained in the laws concerning the study of the Torah. Moreover, he says, so let's understand what he's saying of it. He's going to make an exception to this in a minute. Generally speaking, he says someone that involves himself intellectually with the wisdom of the nations of the world, the sciences of the world, mathematics and science and biology and all these things. It's not Torah. What are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? You could be learning Torah right now, right? And yet you're reading something else. So you're wasting time. That's neglect. You're neglecting the positive commandment of learning Torah. So that's a problem in like every sin you're doing. Like every you didn't put on tefillin. You got busy sleeping. You got busy doing something else. So it's a neglect. So that's a problem. You have to that causes damage to your soul. Like every neglect of a positive commandment, right? But when it comes to the learning the sciences of the nation, there's an added damage. And that's what he's going to be speaking about over here now. Let's understand why. Moreover, the uncleanness of the science of the nations is greater than that of profane speech. For the latter, profane speech informs and defiles only the midot, which emanate from the element of the holy ruach within the divine soul, with the contamination of the klipas nega that is contained in the profane speech, which is derived from the element of evil ruach of this klipa in his animal soul, as mentioned above. Yet he does not defile the intellectual faculties of Chabad in his soul, for they are but words of foolishness and ignorance, since even fools and ignoramuses can speak that way. Not so. I'm going to read further, and then we're going to read this again. I know it's a lot. Not so in the case of the nation science, whereby he clothes and defiles the intellectual faculties of Chabad in his divine soul. Chabad is the intellectual, Chochmah, Bina, and Das, with the contamination of the Klipas Negi contained in those sciences, whither they have fallen through the shattering of the vessels out of this so-called hinder part of Chochmah of Kedusha, as is known to those familiar with the esoteric wisdom. What did Alter Rebbe just say? Let me explain it first outside, and then we'll explain it inside. You remember
Rabbi, if you could please define all the terms again.
I will. You remember we learned in chapter 1 that there are 4 elements within the soul: fire, water, air, and matter. And everything of our soul comes from one of those 4 or a combination of those 4. Everything we think, do, act, whatever we do, think, speak, do, it all originates in one or a combination of those 4 elements. But he broke it down basically. Sorry, I mixed two things. There is the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The nefesh is our behavioral part of our soul. The ruach is our emotional part of our soul. And the neshama is our intellectual part of our soul. Okay? Now, let's say you're speaking about football with your friend. You're speaking about politics with your friend. You're speaking about whatever. It's things of that anyone, maybe politics is different, but things that are really no sophistication. It's just, it's light talk. You're just having, fun talking about whatever. Where does that come from? Where does that originate from? That discussion? From either intellect of your soul or more from the midas, the emotions of your soul? The emotions. You like football, you speak. There's nothing philosophical or intellectually stimulating in that conversation. There's nothing intellectual about it. You're talking about the weather. You're talking about whatever. I went shopping. Whoa, did you see this? We went to Disney World and it was we had such a great time. You're elaborating, you're talking. What do people talk about when they meet each other on the train, on the bus, at a party? What do they talk about? No, not on them. What do they talk about? Well, this, that, and the other. The small talk. It comes from the ruach of your soul. It comes from the emotions of your soul. So when you spoke, when you contaminated that part of your soul by speaking it and not learning Torah and speaking silliness, which any ignoramus can talk about. You don't need to be an intellectual to talk about that. So what part of your soul did you, let's say, contaminate, damage, do whatever? What part of your soul is involved in non-godliness at that time? The lower parts of your soul. Or let's say when you did something that you shouldn't have done. You ate pizza for your selfish purposes. It's an action. It's not even you're not talking about it, you're doing it. You're actually eating something just because you want it. What part of your soul did you introduce to klipa? Your lowest part of your soul, if you will. The lowest part of your sphere. But now imagine you're involved. You're not learning Torah, but instead you're not talking about football or eating pizza. You're talking about science. You're using your brain. You're using your brain in things that are, worldly and not godly. What happens then? What is affected then? The higher level of your Chabad of your nefesh. Chabad is chokhmah bina das, the intellectual capacity or faculty of your soul. And that's a much deeper, more personal, or more sophisticated, or more important part of your neshama, of your identity, of your life, of yourself. And when that gets contaminated, that's bad news. That's worse than contaminating your heart or your midas, your emotions. Now you may ask, what is wrong with sciences? Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. What are you talking about? What is Alter Rebbe saying? You're not allowed to have science. You're not allowed to learn science.
Is this why the Charedim tend to obviously why they tend to ignore the secular brain?
That's not true. Where do they? No, they have both.
No, but there are educational institutions in Israel where they fight tooth and nail to exclude secular studies.
That's not true. No. You're confusing.
Okay.
They're fighting the curriculum that the government wants to impose on their schools. But they do learn secular studies. They learn math. They learn things, of course. They don't want to learn exactly what the government wants to impose on those schools. They don't want to learn about let's say, Darwinism. That's something else. They don't have to introduce every theory under the sun in order to be, So that they're fighting. But they're learning science. They're learning math, English. What?
But I think Unless you're
Why don't
winding
you
up.
let him finish?
Yeah.
What's wrong with studying?
What's wrong with science? Yeah.
Right.
So let me go from the other angle. Why do you need to learn that stuff? So you have doctors, right? Why do you need doctors? Because people are sick. You have to heal them. No problem. That's That's great. That's what God wants.
But you're not studying Torah.
But that, so you're working. It's just like working.
So
It's like working to make a living. That's okay. Let's finish the chapter and then we'll go back. Look what he says now. Unless he employs these sciences as a useful instrument, as a means of a more affluent livelihood, to be able to serve God, or knows how to apply them in the service of God and His Torah. This is the reason why Maimonides and Nachmanides of blessed memory and their adherents engaged in them. You know, there's two reasons that learning the sciences would be a positive thing. Either you need it to make a living, because if you don't learn it, you don't graduate, and you know nothing, you can't get a job. So you need it to be able to get a job. Like you're saying, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer. Or, like the Rambam, like Maimonides and Nachmanides, the Rambam and the Ramban, who learned the sciences in order to have debates and to teach people about God. They utilize the very sciences to bring people closer to God. That's a very good thing. So those two reasons would be legitimate completely. Just like you're going to work and sell shoes to make a living, to be a better person and serve God, you're going to be a doctor, and therefore you have to learn how to be a doctor. Or just like you have to train to be an electrician and to train to be a plumber or whatever a profession, you have to be trained to be a doctor and to be a scientist. So if you're utilizing it to be able to make a living and therefore you can serve God better, by all means. If you're utilizing it, the very sciences, to be able to debate those that oppose godliness and say there is no God, so you can stand up to them and be able to have a conversation, bring people closer to God. That also is very positive. That was the Rambam and Nachmanides. The Rebbe also. What? Right? Exactly. So that's a different story. That would be like anything you do in this world for a higher purpose. You can utilize the sciences for a higher purpose, and then it doesn't contaminate your Chabad. But imagine you're just learning the sciences for no reason. Those two things are not part of it. Now, most people don't learn science when it doesn't involve those two things.
You
They
can read it as recreation.
as
I need a break. I want to read something.
recreational, right? Yeah, you can read it as interesting reading, right?
Yeah.
So you can make the argument. What?
Yeah, it will make me a better person. Okay.
Well, you have to be honest. You have to be honest about that. No, but you can't just.
I read a lot of stuff.
No, the point is, you have to be honest when it comes to these things. Do you really want this, and do you do this really for that purpose? If the answer is yes, by all means, that's really the truth. I'm not joking. But if the answer is not so sure, then you might. Then you're not so sure. The point is, if you're watching a football game and wasting time of Torah, or you're reading a scientific book and wasting time of Torah, reading a book of science has a more detrimental effect than watching the football game. Because the football game is ruining your midas. It's contaminating your midas, perhaps, but not your mind. Whereas the sciences, when you engage in that, your mind is now diverted from where it should be. But it goes one step further. See, Rambam, when he learned science, he was so steeped in holiness. He was so steeped in the belief in God, and he had such a profound knowledge of God, that he was able to learn science, and the science it would be utilized to actually prove God even more than, you know what I'm saying, even more. But your average person that's not so initiated, the more, sometimes when you begin to learn certain philosophies of the secular world, it can actually corrupt your thinking to become. Well, you don't think like a Jew. It ruins your Torah perspective. It begins to creep in and seep in and you begin to start thinking very different than a Jew should be thinking. That's a dangerous thing. That for real is dangerous. In other words, when you're no longer thinking the right, you're not on the path of proper thoughts, meaning the way a Jew should think about life, about God, about the world, about the surrounding, then you're already in a realm where it affects your faith, it affects your belief in God. It starts seeping in and makes you very skeptical about belief systems in God. And that's a bigger problem. That's a very big problem. And that's what Alter Rebbe is addressing over here. That when you... What? That's the worst part, the highest part of the neshama, your mind, your brain. And when you affect the brain, the brain becomes ungodly. That's much worse than your passions becoming ungodly. Because the passions are a lower part of you, not the most sophisticated part of you.
But people's intellectual development is a journey.
It is, I agree.
People change, people learn new things, people are affected.
Not a doubt.
Other than science, is there other things that...
Wisdom. We're talking about wisdom.
Any wisdom that's not...
Any wisdom that is... So you're saying, if you'd use it... Trivia? I don't know, what was trivia? A guessing game.
Uses you away from being godly or being God conscious.
So there's nothing wrong with playing a game of trivia. You need to have a little bit, you need to relax. It's part of relaxation, part of like you're saying, winding down or whatever to clear your mind, whatever you want to use it. Most people need that a little bit to be able to focus later better on more important things, the important things of life. So if you get any of that, there's not, it's not the end of the world if you really need it. It's like going to work because you need it. So for here too, you need this. You're going swimming, you're going this, you're doing exercise, whatever those things are. You need all those recreational things in order to be able to be a wholesome human being and be able to live life like a normal person and be healthy and be balanced and be a good person to be able to serve God better.
Rabbi.
But you have to be brutally honest with yourself and brutally honest with your God. What part of you is really doing this to serve God better, and what part of you is really doing it for your own pleasures? So that's up to you. I can't answer that for you because only you know yourself. The point over here is the more God conscious we become, the better off we are. It's not going to be all encompassing. It's not going to be 100% of the day. Whatever. Let it be 5 more minutes a day. Then it'll become 6 minutes a day. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what life and Avodas Hashem is all about. But the problem that Alter Rebbe is addressing in chapter 8 here is about the mind. The most elevated part of the human being. When that becomes contaminated, that's worse than anything else. So when you're diverting your attention from learning Torah, which you could, and you're engaging in things that are the wisdom of the nations of the world, there's a two-pronged problem here. There's a double problem here. Number one, you're not learning Torah at that moment, and therefore you're introducing the most the upper levels of your soul into this, right? You're introducing your brain, your Chabad, into something that's klipa, which is worse than introducing your midas, your emotions into klipa. But it's much worse than that. It's worse when you're learning the wisdoms of the nations of the world. If you're not really steeped in Jewish thinking and understand the Torah perspective of things, you can be so diverted and so it could corrupt your mind and thinking process so bad that it affects your faith in God. It affects how you perceive God and perceive the world and so on and so on. We begin to develop a secular perspective. A secular perspective is a very big problem.
So, Robert, if
Yeah.
you wanted to study the history of the world, a lot of people that have my father,
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah.
he loved history, he loved to study, he was very smart person. But that has some knowledge to do. If that you say is not,
History's not that.
desire,
Probably it's another wisdom. It's a form of wisdom. It's a form of wisdom. No, it's a form of wisdom. Any wisdom. Yeah.
so what? What's the talking about?
On what? On him learning science and him learning history? It's the same comment I have on you going to a rock concert. It's the same thing.
I mean, for recreation.
But if you really need it, if he really needs to clear his mind and to appreciate a moment of clarity, a moment of winding down, as you say, a recreation, and he feels that he needs that in order to be able to serve Hashem better later, could be worse. No, fine, no problem. But you have to be honest about that. When it comes to the mind, you should be even more honest than when it comes to the other things. Because when your mind is in klipa, the most important part of you is in klipa, and that's a problem. Especially if it seeps in and corrupts your mind. That's even worse.
Does Judaism acknowledge that humans can have experiences beyond carrying out the mitzvot, beyond studying the Torah, beyond davening, that can bring you closer to God?
Like what?
Sunset over Grand Canyon.
Okay, why is that not a mitzvah? What is that? What is that?
No, I'm simply talking about experience, because if you acknowledge that...
So what do you think? So let's go through that motion a minute. You're at the Grand Canyon, you're seeing a sunset, and what does that make you think? Wow, this God is a great God, to be able to create such beauty.
Yes.
That's called thinking about Hashem in a very profound way. What's wrong with that?
Okay. Now I'm listening to music, and I'm overcome by how beautiful the music is, and I realize that if God did not exist, such beauty could not exist. It proves to me the existence of God. What then?
If that brings you closer to God, then it brought you closer to God. That's very nice.
Okay, so today I'm watching a video on YouTube.
But here's my question.
What?
This could be so misleading. I think the barometer there's an easy barometer for this. What does it bring you to do? What does it foster? Okay, so you had this beautiful sunset. Now what? So you thought God is great. Therefore, what's the takeaway? Well, it makes me. I thought about God for the moment. Okay, that's nothing wrong with that either. But usually, when something is God-centered, it will motivate you to go to be a little even more godly. It's easy to fool ourselves and say, yeah, this is about God, when it really wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It's very easy to fool ourselves. And like I'm saying, it's not a sin, and therefore it's not. I wouldn't beat myself over this. I wouldn't beat myself up over this. We have to be balanced in our life. He's right. You have to be balanced in your life, but you also have to know the truth. You can't legitimize self-centeredness. That's not a good thing. You shouldn't be selfish.
I think we all agree.
I don't mean selfish in the sense I don't want to share with you. That's not what I mean selfish. We shouldn't be. That's not what I mean by selfish. I mean self-centered. There's nothing positive about being self-centered.
I think the argument here is that if it is incumbent upon us to be God-centered every moment, that can be a heavy lift in terms of mental exhaustion. That's the way you look at the problem.
It's just, to me, it's just like saying to be family-centered all your life. Do you have to be family-centered all your life? Yes, you do. I don't accept this that you don't have to be family-centered all your life. I do think you have to be family-centered. Once you get married and have children, you're no longer your own person. There's no such a thing. Me, and I have my 10 minutes. What does that even mean? You don't have 10 minutes. Your 10 minutes that you're spending at the gym is also about your family. So you can come back to your family and be a better father. There's no such a thing of separating from your family even for 5 seconds. There's no such a thing once you're married. You're no longer an individual. You're part of a unit. Yeah. That's exactly what it means with God as well. It's not to the exclusion of God. If I say, I am me now, tell your wife, these 5 minutes, you're out of my mind, you're out of my conscience, you're out of my emotions, you're out of everything. It's about me. I promise you she ain't going to like that. And she'd be right. What kind of business is that? What kind of attitude is that? Which married man has such an attitude? I don't want my wife to ever have that attitude, and I never have that attitude towards her. Does that mean I can't go and enjoy an ice cream cone by myself in 7-Eleven or wherever, in a kosher ice cream store? Of course I could. And she would be very happy if I did that whenever I want. But it's not to the exclusion of her and my family. There's no such a thing. There shouldn't be such a thing. So we're confusing two things. My enjoyment is not to the exclusion of God. And it should never be. And if it is, it's a problem. That's it. It's like being, it's like, if it's as if it's the same thing as to, I need my time and my family and kids have to leave me alone now. But not only leave me alone so I can have a little equilibrium in my life, so I can just wind down a little bit. Of course you can't have your kids knocking on your head all day long. You need to have 5 minutes by yourself. But why do I need 5 minutes by myself? Because I'm married, because I'm a father, and if they drive me crazy all day and I never have a moment to think, and I never have a moment to breathe, I'll never be able to be for them, be there for them like a normal person. So nothing is about myself, only mamish. No, I don't want God in this. God, you have nothing to do with this thing. I'll give you 10 minutes, I'll give you 10 hours, but this hour is mine exclusively. That's a bad attitude. That's not a good attitude. Where does it come from? What's the virtue in that? It sounds virtuous, but it's not. There's nothing virtuous about it. God's not taking anything away from you. I said this many times. There's not one pleasure in the world that we can't have. You can have good food, good intimate. You can have everything you want. Just do it the way I want it. The way I know is best. And that's all he's asking for. He's not really asking for much. He's not saying don't eat, don't go to drink, don't go to watch a sunrise on the Grand Canyon. Do it all. Do all that as much as you want. But if it's not directing you to be a better person for the ultimate goal of life, then it's a mistake. Then it's a self-centered piece of garbage act. It shouldn't be done. It really shouldn't. That means you're disconnected from truth. You're disconnected from your family. Imagine someone said that about his family. I have an hour a day where my family is shut out. It's a ridiculous idea. It's a wrong idea. It's not healthy. You should never have you shouldn't have even 1 minute that's not about your unit. Because you're no longer yourself. You're not an individual anymore. You shouldn't have gotten married if you want to have time for yourself. I mean time real, where it's to the exclusion of everyone else. Does that make sense?
It seems to me that the whole question is not just the wrong question. It shouldn't be a burden that be God.
It is a burden. He's saying it's a burden, and he's not so wrong. It is a little bit of a burden. Of course you want to be free, and I don't want God. It's like people that don't get married. People that don't get married will say they're free to do whatever they want. And they're right, they are. They're free to do whatever they want. They're not bogged down to anything. They can go wherever they want, whenever they want. They don't have any burdens, no kids, no wife, no spouse, nothing. They see that as freedom. Okay, gesundheit. Hey.
We learned last night doing a mitzvah to be a meditation. And the benefit is that you have the relationship with God and you feel that intensely. Then being God conscious is a tremendous positive. And every time you're God conscious about something, you gain tremendously because you're brought closer to God. Then your attitude about being God conscious.
But that, what you're saying now, but what you're saying now is also a little selfish. No, you're serving God for my benefit.
It may be, but it's certainly God is not beyond bestowing benefits by you realizing that you relate.
My point is, it's not an all or nothing. What I mean by that is, enjoy this world. God made it for us. But he put us here as part of his reality. Never forget that. That's it. That doesn't mean never forget that for 24 hours a day, the whole day you should think God, 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 God. No, that's not what we're saying. I think it's exactly like the relationship with your family and kids, with your wife and kids. That's how your relationship with God should be. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Your family is all. I'm consumed by my family. Yeah, doesn't mean that I don't enjoy life and I don't go for a moment myself. And I go out with my friends for lunch. I can do that whenever I want. My wife's never holding me back doing that. But when I tell her, I never did, but if I ever told her, 23 hours a day I'm yours, or 1 hour a day I'm not yours, I have no connection to you, that would be a recipe for disaster. It's just not an acceptable attitude. It really isn't. It means that I don't know, what do you mean when you say I'm not for God? Exactly what that means. It's about me now, not about you.
No, but if you have that way, if you're not thinking like that.
Right. I don't think about my wife. Most of the day I don't think about my wife.
You're not thinking.
Not only, I got news for you. Most of the day I don't think about my wife and kids.
I thought you said that.
Most of the day I don't think about God either.
Yeah, as long as you don't lose track of where.
But my whole day is directed towards God.
Correct.
That's it. And my whole day is directed towards my family. Although I'm not thinking about them. When I'm giving a class now, the last hour I thought about my wife and kids? No. I thought about teaching you guys, this group. I thought about the topic that's on hand.
What is your what is your emotional approach to serving God? Is it a joyous approach?
Sometimes it's more than others. We'll fluctuate. We're not...
But it doesn't have to be like the yoke of God.
I don't think it has to be. No, I think you're right. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's a little burden. I'm not in the mood. But I do it anyway. Am I in the mood always? My wife is in the mood of waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and feeding her newborn. This is something that she'd rather just, go back to sleep. She's tired, she's exhausted. But she does it anyway. Because that's just, you have to do it. Sometimes a Jew feels that way towards Torah and mitzvahs, towards God. I'm not really in the mood right now, but, it is what it is. I got to do it, You wake up in the morning. You're always in the mood of going to work in the morning. You'd rather sleep a little bit, right? I wish I could sleep an extra 2 hours every morning. Or once a week, but I can't. I have to go. It's not always the greatest excitement. I jump out of bed. I'm ready to go to Shachris. I can't wait to get there. I fool myself to say that. Some mornings I say, I wish I could just sleep in now for another hour and a half. I'm so tired. I went to sleep late. But I can't afford it. I got to get up. That's how it is. I run the thing here. You have a job. You got to go to your job. It's the same thing. And sometimes you're not even in the mood of your kids. But imagine I told my kids, you got me for 23 hours a day. Can you imagine a father tells that to his kids? Can you imagine a father thinks that way? Forget about tells his kids. Even if he doesn't tell that to his kids. Even if he's smart enough to shut his mouth and not tell that. Can you imagine an attitude like that? I'm yours 23. Imagine you tell your wife, I'm yours 23 hours a day. It's awful. It's awful. What? Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's giving them. Why do you need quiet time for yourself? Because if you never had quiet time for yourself, you would never really have time for them either. You would never be able to be present. You'd be tired, you'd go crazy, you wouldn't be able to be there for them. A person needs to go swimming once in a while, to go do exercise. He doesn't want to have his kids pulling at his pants when he's doing exercise. Because then he's not going to do exercise, he's going to be weak, and he's not going to be able to be there for them. You have to have a balance in your life. But that hour of exercise is not about you to the exclusion of your family. It should never be that way. There's no such a thing, this is for me and not for my kids. There's no such a thing. Or for me and not for my wife. This is for my spouse. It doesn't exist in a normal healthy relationship. Doesn't mean you're thinking about your wife all day long. In fact, if you think about your wife all day long, there's something wrong with you. No, serious.
There's something wrong with me then, Rabbi.
You don't worry, you'll get there.
So
Yeah.
what I learned, I think it's very important.
You're still in your first year of marriage. Well, talk to me in 5 years, yeah.
As long, if you are, now we know what we know. If you have doubts about something that you want to do, as long as you find the purpose, that's the thing that you're going to do, look like it's selfish, has that bigger purpose towards serving God. It's okay.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
If you have doubts, for example, I have doubts if I did what benefit do I have from going to a trip or a drug culture or whatever, or having a trip. As long as we can find a godly purpose behind it, may look so distant at the surface, but at the end, I'm doing this because I will make.
If you're honest about it, it's all good.
Rabbi, repeat the question. That was a great, that's the whole question.
Yeah, we're talking about if
Yeah, I
you,
don't think they heard.
if
You
you,
got it?
I understand it, but I'm saying I don't think people.
I don't know who's watching.
Yes. So
That's the
when
problem with this
that's how I
computer. You
think
can't
about
see who's watching.
How
I
can,
think they got it.
Very short.
But you have to be honest about it. You have to be honest about it. I told you the story of my teacher. I had a teacher. His name was Rabbi Chaim. He was this tall.
What a name.
Eli Chaim. Eliyahu Chaim.
They said Rebbe L'chaim.
Reb Eli Chaim. Yeah, Eli Chaim. Eliyahu Chaim. That was his name. Yeah, and he took this to a new level. He really was mindful about every deed he did. Do I really need, is this for me, or is this too much about me? And you saw in him that he had those doubts. And when he wasn't sure, we were Fabrengens with him. His wife would send with a package of cookies because he wouldn't eat from anything other than his own house. This way he knew it was 100% kosher, no questions. And he would he'd say, L'chaim, take out a little cookie, and then you would see him putting it back. He's debating, what do I need this for? Do I really need this now? Is this about me, or is this about a higher purpose? You saw him going through that exercise, that intellectual exercise. And sometimes he put it back, and sometimes he ate it, because he needed it.
You have to do that with actual L'chaim.
It's hard to do that.
I'm saying with L'chaim.
that's a very.
We're not, it's a higher level of life.
I'm just saying, like, with L'chaim.
It's a noble place, a noble life. L'chaim, you need a chaser, of course. So he would eat the chaser, he would need it. But the point is that he was mindful about these
If you
things.
lead like that, that's one.
He's a holy person. Yeah.
He's a holy person.
He got used to it. He got used to it. It didn't come easy when he was 12 and 13 years old either.
I would be exhausted if I leave like that.
You wouldn't if you got used to it. It's everything like everything. It's a very disciplined lifestyle to live.
Sometimes.
It's a total consciousness of God, which is a very beautiful thing, if you can get there. Yeah. Most people can't. He was a normal human being. He was very normal.
No, he was a son.
I don't know if he was a tzaddik. He wasn't a tzaddik, but he was a very, very noble. He was a chassid of a high level chassid.
I would argue that you need time to get your mind free.
That
just to
he.
be a better person. You can be.
So how do you get your mind free?
You just don't think. I mean, sometimes I go to a park and stress.
So you know what he
I go
does.
to a park and I think of nothing.
So you know what this Jew does when he's stressed and he needs a little time, slow time or whatever you call it. He reads a Hasidic story.
That's intellectual, huh?
Nah, story is a little less intellectual.
I have to read and think.
You don't have to think. It's easy reading. Easy reading. You say you don't read a novel, a Hasidic novel. Let's say a Hasidic novel. Huh?
Thinking of nothing.
That's already intellectual exercise. Bonanut is, yeah, you're focused on something. Yeah. Intellectual is baininess, is focused on something. No, but the point is these people are not, they're not intense. They know how to, they live the life and they find easier things to do. But it's not going to be baseball and that. It's going to be around the life of a Jew that they're going to find. There's so much fun in the life of a Jew. You may not see it as fun, but they do. They find pleasure in it. They'll listen and dance for a Hasidic tune. They'll have a Fabrengen and talk about Hasidic stories. It's light. It's not heavy-duty thinking and learning. It's not that type of thing, no. You're telling a story. The stories are nice. You're reading a story. You're reading an article about some Jewish concept or topic. Yeah, it's nothing, it's nice. You're reading about the Baal Shem Tov, the stories of the Baal Shem Tov, the stories of the Alter Rebbe, the stories of who knows what. It's easy, it's slow, but it's inspirational. There's a takeaway, there's something holy about it, there's something Jewish about it. That's all, that's what they did. Instead of going to a rock concert, they listened to Hasidic music. That's it. Who says one is better than the other? This makes you calm, that makes him calm. There's nothing, they're both enjoyable. So, see, he found enjoyment in what's more Jewish. You found enjoyment that's a little more worldly. But he found enjoyment. These people are happy people. They were very, very happy people. You should have seen them in life. They were happy, happy people. They really were. I'm not joking. They're probably more happy than all of us over here. Their mind and their soul, their bodies were in sync. They didn't starve. They didn't malnourish themselves. This guy was a little small naturally. He was just but he ate. He was healthy. He lived long. He was a very old man when he died. He was in his 80s, 90s even maybe. I don't know exactly his age, but he was a very old man. They were good. They lived. They were very happy in their life. Nothing was missing. They didn't look for much, meaning to say they weren't looking for pleasures of their big house and a big, nice, beautiful car. It didn't talk to them. Those things meant nothing to them. It really didn't. It had no value to them. She said, they're missing something. They're not missing anything. They have value. They found value in other things. They found pleasure and fun, enjoyment in other things. There's nothing. I think they're more sophisticated, actually. They're different. They're in the minority, but they're on the right path. Is it hard? Yeah, it was a hard training for them, no doubt about it. It's discipline. It's much easier to go to a rock concert than to learn Torah or to be disciplined. Yeah, for sure. So it took discipline, but then after a while, that becomes their nature. That becomes second nature for them. That becomes their enjoyment. That becomes their lifestyle. For me, Shabbos is a burden. Not a burden at all. It really isn't. I love Shabbos. I can't wait for Shabbos. Even though it's my hardest day, really, when you think about it. As a rabbi, it's probably my hardest day of the week. By far. I'm working. Yeah. It's the hardest day of the week for me. It's very exhausting. When I come home Shabbos afternoon at 3 o'clock, I can't stand. I fall on the bed. I fall on the couch. I'm so tired. I need to lay down for an hour to wind down, right? Nothing wrong. It's Shabbos. It's a good thing to do. I need it. I need to read something light. I can't learn. I don't even have the head to learn on Shabbos afternoon. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to learn. I wouldn't be able to focus. So you need to be able to wind down. Just read a book, read an article, read something, But it could be in the world of Judaism. That's it. We're going long, so I want to thank you for joining us. We'll read the end of that chapter again, because I know we went fast and I didn't elaborate, so we'll do it again next week. We'll move on to chapter 9. Everyone that's watching, thank you for challenging. It's a good challenge, by the way. I enjoy it, I really do.
I think that's the purpose of this.
That's what learning is all about, my friend.
To deal with these dilemmas.
100%. It's to understand it and to live by it without fooling ourselves. Have a good day.